You told yourself 5 more minutes. That was 45 minutes ago. You are still scrolling. Not because you are enjoying it, not because you are learning anything, not because any of it is making you feel good. You are scrolling because you cannot stop. And the strangest part? You know that. You know it is happening. You can feel it happening. And you are still doing it. That is not a habit. That is not laziness. That is your brain being used against you. And today we are going to explain exactly how. Let us start with what doom scrolling actually is. It is not just using your phone too much. It is the specific loop of consuming negative, stressful, or emotionally heavy content. Disasters, conflicts, bad news, arguments, things that upset you, and doing it compulsively, even when it makes you feel worse with every scroll, even when you know it is making you feel worse. The key word is compulsively, because this is not a choice your conscious mind is making. This is something much older and much more powerful pulling the strings. Your brain has a threat detection system. It has been there since long before smartphones existed, long before television, long before written language. It evolved when the most important thing a human being could do was survive. And survival meant staying alert to danger. It meant paying attention to threats. It meant never fully relaxing, because the moment you relaxed was the moment something could kill you. That system is still inside you, fully intact, completely unchanged. And it cannot tell the difference between a threat in your physical environment and a threat on a 4-inch screen. So when you see a disturbing headline, your threat detection system activates. When you see conflict, it activates. When you see something that feels dangerous or uncertain or wrong, it activates. And once it activates, it does one thing. It tells your brain to keep watching. Because in the ancient world, looking away from a threat before it was resolved could get you killed. Your brain is not doom scrolling because it is weak. It is doom scrolling because it thinks it is keeping you safe. Now here is where it gets darker. The apps know this. Every platform you use has spent billions of dollars and millions of hours figuring out exactly how to keep your threat detection system engaged. The algorithm does not show you content that makes you feel good and satisfied. Satisfied people put their phones down. The algorithm shows you content that makes you feel unsettled, curious, slightly anxious, outraged. Because unsettled people keep scrolling. They are looking for resolution. They are looking for the moment the threat gets resolved. But that moment never comes. Because the next post is designed to create a new one. This is not an accident. This is the architecture of the product. You are not a user. You are the product. And your attention is what is being sold. But the algorithm is only half the story. The other half is dopamine. Every time you see something new, even something upsetting, your brain releases a small amount of dopamine. Not because it is enjoyable, but because it is novel. Novelty is one of the most powerful dopamine triggers the human brain has. New information, new stimulus, new threat to evaluate. And dopamine does not reward you for finding something good. It rewards you for searching. The anticipation of the next thing is what keeps you scrolling, not the content itself. The possibility that the next post might be the one that finally satisfies something? It never is. But your brain does not learn that lesson. Because by the time the scroll feels empty, the dopamine has already fired for the next one. You are chasing something that keeps moving. And here is what it is doing to you. Not eventually, right now. Every session of doom scrolling ends with your nervous system in a state it was never designed to sustain. Your cortisol is elevated. That is the stress hormone. It is the same chemical that floods your body when you are in physical danger. Your body cannot tell the difference between a tiger and a Twitter thread. Both activate the same response. Both leave the same chemical residue in your system. And cortisol does not disappear the moment you put your phone down. It stays. It lingers in the body for hours, which is why you doom scroll at night and then cannot sleep, which is why you pick up your phone first thing in the morning and immediately feel heavy, which is why some days feel exhausting before they have even started. Your nervous system is not resting. It is processing a threat load it was never built to handle. There is something else happening that most people never talk about. Doom scrolling is rewiring the way your brain handles boredom. Before smartphones existed, boredom was uncomfortable, but it was also useful. Boredom was when your brain processed the day, integrated memories, generated ideas, allowed emotions to surface and settle. Now the moment boredom begins, the phone appears. The discomfort is gone within seconds, but the processing never happens. The emotions never surface. The ideas never form. You have replaced your brain's recovery time with more input, and over time, the brain loses its tolerance for any moment of stillness. Any pause becomes uncomfortable. Any silence feels wrong. You reach for the phone not because you want to, but because your brain no longer knows what to do without it. So how do you stop? The honest answer is that you cannot use willpower alone. Willpower operates in the prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking brain. But doom scrolling is driven by the limbic system, the emotional survival brain. And in a direct fight between those two systems, the survival brain wins almost every time. What you can do is change the environment instead of fighting the impulse. Because impulses need a frictionless path to become behaviors. Add friction and the impulse weakens before it becomes an action. Here is what that looks like in practice. Remove social media apps from your home screen. Not deleted, just buried. 3 extra taps is enough friction to interrupt the automatic reach. That gap between impulse and action is where your conscious mind has a chance to step in. Charge your phone outside your bedroom. Not because phones are evil, but because the first and last moments of your day are when your nervous system is most vulnerable. Starting the day with cortisol and ending the day with cortisol is a cycle that compounds over time. Set a specific time window for news and social media. Not a time limit, a time window. There is a difference. A time limit says you have 30 minutes. A time window says you check between 6 and 6:30 and not outside that. Time limits feel like restriction. Time windows feel like structure. And your brain responds to those two things very differently. But the most important thing you can do is replace the scroll with something that meets the same need. Your brain is not scrolling because it is broken. It is scrolling because it is bored, because it is anxious, because it is looking for stimulation, because it wants to feel connected, because it needs to process something it has not been allowed to process. Find what your scroll is actually trying to do for you, and give your brain a better version of that thing. A walk meets the stimulation need. A conversation meets the connection need. 10 minutes of doing nothing meets the processing need, even though it feels uncomfortable at first. Especially because it feels uncomfortable at first. Your brain is not your enemy in this. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is scanning for threats. It is chasing novelty. It is trying to keep you alive and informed and connected. It just does not know that the feed has no end, that the threat never resolves, that the scroll leads nowhere, but you do. And that awareness is the beginning of the only thing that actually works. Not willpower, not restriction, understanding, because you cannot fight something you do not understand. But once you understand it, it loses just enough of its power for you to choose differently. If this video made you look at your phone differently, comment below. And subscribe to Into the Psych for more videos on psychology, human behavior, dark patterns of the mind, and how to understand yourself better. See you in the next one.